In the grand city of Babylon, during the 6th century BC, lived a man whose faith would be tested in one of history's most dramatic encounters. Daniel, a Jewish exile, had risen from captive to prime minister through decades of faithful service to successive empires. The story begins not with the lions, but with the fall of Babylon to the Medes and Persians. Darius the Mede, now ruling over the kingdom at the age of 62, had established 120 satraps throughout the kingdom, with 3 administrators over them, of whom Daniel was one. Daniel distinguished himself above all other administrators and satraps because of his exceptional qualities. Scripture tells us an excellent spirit was in him. His wisdom, integrity, and administrative ability so impressed Darius that the king planned to set him over the entire kingdom. This prominence bred jealousy among his colleagues. The other administrators and satraps watched Daniel carefully, seeking grounds for charges against him in his conduct of government affairs. But they could find no corruption in him, for he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. These men, consumed by envy, finally concluded, "We will never find any basis for charges against this Daniel unless it has something to do with the law of his God." They understood that Daniel's unwavering faith was both his strength and their opportunity for destruction. The conspirators crafted their plan with cunning precision. They approached King Darius as a group, saying, "O King Darius, live forever. All the administrators of the kingdom, the prefects and the satraps, the counselors and the governors have agreed that the king should establish an ordinance and enforce an injunction." Their proposed decree stated that anyone who prayed to any god or man during the next 30 days, except to the king, would be thrown into the lion's den. They appealed to the king's vanity and the Persian custom that once a law was signed, it could not be revoked, even by the king himself. The conspirators urged, "Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the document so that it cannot be changed according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which cannot be revoked." Unaware of their true motives, King Darius signed the decree. When Daniel learned that the document had been signed, his response revealed both his character and his convictions. Scripture tells us, "He went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God, just as he had done before." This wasn't an act of defiance, but of devotion. Daniel didn't change his practice. He didn't close his windows. He didn't hide his prayers. He didn't reduce their frequency. He didn't alter his commitment. His accusers, knowing his habits, found him praying and asking God for help. Immediately, they went to the king and reminded him of the decree. "Did you not publish a decree that anyone who prays to any god or man during the next 30 days, except to you, O king, would be thrown into the lion's den?" When the accusers brought their charges against Daniel, King Darius was greatly distressed. The trap became clear. His own decree would condemn a man he trusted and respected. Scripture tells us he was determined to rescue Daniel and made every effort until sundown to save him. But the conspirators pressed their advantage, reminding the king, "Remember, O king, that according to the law of the Medes and Persians, no decree or ordinance that the king establishes can be changed." The king found himself bound by his own law, facing an impossible choice between his royal authority and his valued administrator. The legal system he presided over had become a weapon against justice. As the sun set over Babylon, the king gave the order he had fought all day to prevent. Daniel was brought forth to be cast into the den of lions. But before this happened, Darius spoke to Daniel personally, saying, "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." This statement revealed the king's understanding of Daniel's character. He knew Daniel's predicament came not from wrongdoing, but from faithful service to his God. The words also showed Darius's hope in the power of Daniel's God, whom he had seen Daniel serve faithfully. The physical reality of the lion's den was terrifying. These were not aged circus animals, but powerful beasts kept hungry for execution purposes. The den likely was an underground chamber with a side entrance for the lions and a sealed opening at the top through which prisoners were thrown. A stone was brought and laid over the mouth of the den. The king sealed it with his own signet ring and with the signets of his nobles, ensuring that Daniel's situation could not be changed. This double sealing demonstrated both the finality of the judgment and the prevention of any tampering with the outcome. The king returned to his palace, but spent the night fasting. He refused entertainment, and sleep fled from him. His actions reveal his deep distress over Daniel's fate. He denied himself food. He rejected diversions. He passed a sleepless night. His thoughts troubled him. Meanwhile, in the den, something remarkable was happening. Though surrounded by hungry lions, Daniel remained untouched. Scripture doesn't detail the hours he spent there, but tells us that God sent his angel to shut the lions' mouths. At the first light of dawn, the king hurried to the lion's den. As he approached, he called out to Daniel in an anguished voice, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions?" Daniel's response came clear and strong from the den. "O king, live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent in his sight. Nor have I ever done any wrong before you, O king." The king was overjoyed. He ordered Daniel lifted from the den. No wound was found on him, because he had trusted in his God. This visual proof of divine protection demonstrated both Daniel's faithfulness and God's power. The king's next action was swift and severe. He ordered the men who had falsely accused Daniel to be brought forth. Along with their wives and children, they were thrown into the lion's den. Scripture records that before they reached the floor of the den, the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. This harsh judgment reflected ancient Near Eastern justice practices. The severity of their crime, the king's anger at being manipulated, a demonstration of the lion's actual ferocity. King Darius then issued a new decree to all peoples, nations, and languages that lived in his kingdom. "Peace be multiplied to you. I make a decree that in all my royal dominion people are to tremble and fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God, enduring forever. His kingdom shall never be destroyed, and his dominion shall be to the end. He delivers and rescues. He works signs and wonders in heaven and on earth. He who has saved Daniel from the power of the lions." This decree represented a dramatic shift in imperial policy, acknowledging the power of Daniel's God throughout the empire. His deliverance became a testimony not just to one king or empire, but to all generations of the power of faith and the protection of God. The den of lions transformed from a place of execution to a temple of testimony, where the power of the living God was displayed for all to see. This account continues to inspire believers facing their own lions' dens, situations where faith and integrity are tested against overwhelming odds. It reminds us that faithfulness to God supersedes all other obligations, and that divine protection often comes not by avoiding trials, but by enduring them with unwavering trust. The story of Daniel in the lion's den stands as an eternal witness to the truth that faith, when tested, often shines brightest, and that God remains faithful to those who remain faithful to Him.